that is the first meaningful update that I have for you. Then on this episode, Ivory Coast, and then in the similar size, in this episode, we're gonna do the pink dragon. Cocoa peat, peat moss doesn't do this. There is a water table that this pot still has. Hi, welcome back. So let's start with the fact that summer has been quite so much more mild than last year. But note that aside, first couple of updates that I have. It's been even less than a week, 6 days, since I got the Antoro repotted. And guess what? They already threw a fit. The one that is doing just fine is the one that I did in the moss with the perlite in the bottom. The older leaves have thrown a little bit of a fit, but that's normal, that's expected. I'm just gonna remove those. Like if you see here in the back of this one, these are the ones that start to turn a little yellow, but being the older ones, that's completely normal. Now I don't know what this is because I see a couple of light specks on the new leaf over here. I inspected it for pests and there are no pests because the only white specks that I see is from the diatomaceous earth. But it looks like this one is going to be just fine. In the next couple of episodes, I will update some more. Now, the other settings that I did, as you saw on that episode, was this it has a drainage and it's on my chunky mix, but it completely threw a fit. It's completely wilted. Now, the new leaf, it has a little bit more of a structure, so I'm gonna let this one see if it recovers, see what happens. Doesn't look good. Now, the one that I did in the no drainage with just chunky mix is the one that immediately went off the deep end. Because if you can see here, especially the outer leaves, the older ones, immediately the petiole became like completely dehydrated and continuously like the leaves completely dried out. It's not completely gone, but it's not looking right whatsoever. So this one is going to go back. That is the first meaningful update that I have for you. Then on this episode, what I'm going to address are the other alocasias that I have in the to-do list. So first are going to be the Ivory Coast, and then in the similar size, in this episode, we're going to do the pink dragon. The similarities on these are the pink petioles, but as you can see, the leaves are quite different from each other. This one is finally growing a new leaf because it's been with a single leaf for a while, but it's taken a little bit to unfurl, and there's a new plant coming out from here. All these are in the original mix, and it's that mix that I don't like. So these two are gonna go together. This one is growing a beautiful new leaf. So I'm gonna put these two together and this one separate, considering that they're different. But that's what's coming up in this episode. So let's get cracking. I'm gonna remove the soil separately so you don't have to go through that with me. All right, so I can totally jump over the whole removing the soil situation. Because remember how I said that I hate this fibrous mix? Now, I thought that maybe this was not fully shredded peat moss. The reason there was so fibrous, because cocoa peat can also be a little bit fibrous, but it's not also that fibrous. Let's pretend, let's play devil's advocate, and let's say that this is either peat moss or cocoa coir that is not fully shredded, so it still has a lot of that fiber. Now, even though if that was the case, it doesn't do this. Like naturally, once it's processed, it doesn't clump together like this. So here's my theory, and if there's a grower out there that can like dispute this and like correct me, please do so. Because here, Listen, what I wanted to do here is to learn and to whatever I learn, I can share with everyone that watches my videos, because I have processed cocoa peat from being compressed in the brick form and to make it safe and usable in the garden. And if you haven't seen that video, look at under my mixed videos. Like, there's a complete full video there process on the process of how to do that. When you rehydrate cocoa water and buffer it and get it ready for the garden, it never clumps up like this. It never gets into this like clumps that are, you have to mush them in order to get untangled. Look at this. This is a corm and it has roots, but you see these clumps right here? Cocoa peat, peat moss doesn't do this. Okay? The only way that this is happening is because, just like the corks, these have some sort of adhesive in the mix, so it just clumps together. My conspiracy theory is because that way, when you remove it, you rip the root system apart, and then the plants will fail easier. Because I got this one, I have to like soak it, and hopefully like that will soften that adhesive, and it will come off, you see, a little easier from the roots. But when it's dry, this is what I figured out. When it's on the dry side, it's gonna be more clumped together and harder to come off. You know, if this is not a scam from the growers, they should at least put a little pamphlet on the plant and say, like, this is how you remove this crap from the root system without damaging the plant. The fact that there's no information about how to remove this, it was makes me believe that this is a scam. Because look at this. It's, it becomes a single mass that the roots have grown through, but in order to remove it, either has to be like, let it completely be soaked and rehydrated, so that adhesive doesn't, no longer has the property to be gluing things together, and then this will come off easier. The other thing is, like, as I mentioned on every video, if this will go straight into a chunky mix, as we usually do, because what we provide is not a greenhouse, it's not scheduled watering, it's not what they do in the nursery. So even if this was, let's say that this is what they need to do in order to do, mass production, because it's easier, because it's automated, or whatever it is, at least there should be a formula of how to remove this safely for everyone to know. Like, everything that you buy nowadays comes with instructions. Plants don't. So, and if you even go to the grower's website, because like that's at least is where I think it should be, there should be information about how to treat the plant from when you get it home. That will be the honest thing to do, and then to tell you what this is, how to remove it, how to safely remove it, so that way the plant doesn't die. But guess what? They don't care about that, because if the plant dies, you go and buy another one. Because nowadays you only have 30 days or 90 days to return the plant. It used to be a year, now they change it. So this one was a little drier than this one. So this one that had a little more moisture came off easier. But what I'm going to do now is what I've been doing with the others, which is just with the hose and let the water do the rest of the removal. All right, I just wanted to share that. So now that I have removed the corks and all that, I wanted to point something out here. I'm not sure if these are exactly the same, just because of the variegation more on that leaves. You see that it has a lot of grayish, and this one is a lot more green. So I don't know if they're a little different. And I also see there's a lot of more specks throughout the petioles in this one, and this one is not so much, but it can be the same plant. But let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts. So I changed my mind and I'm gonna keep them separated. So I'm gonna continue to clean this all this previous husk, so the plant has room for new leaves. And what I wanted to mention was that if you see these little corms, they are like right on the surface. Those must be possibly like towards new plants, because what we learned with ferromask is that these plants use those corms first to storage energy and resources, especially when they go dormant. But that necessarily is not true of every single one. So that's wanted to see, like, sometimes that's why it's easier to leave those corms till they like pop off by themselves, or till actually like the other ones that I have here, they have already grew roots and they start to develop, because you see the sprout right here, they start to begin to develop a new plant. So this, I'm gonna put them in my prop box. I need to make more chunky mix. Considering that these are gonna be most likely out here, I don't know what this winter is gonna bring. This last winter was my first winter here. The lowest the temperature got was 45. That triggered a lot of the Alocasias and Colocasias to go dormant, but they came back uh, without a problem. But I would rather have the Alocasias, particularly the small ones, to not go dormant. Or probably these two, I'm going to try one with drainage and one without drainage, and see what I'm going to do about the pink dragon. But while I decide that, I need to refill my powder and make some more chunky mix. All right, so something that I wanted to point out about mixes. Regardless of the plant you repotting or planting, except that is, something that is in for a swamp, you want the mix to be well draining. It doesn't matter if it's something more dense as a caliphia, or as airy as an airy mix that goes into a musk bowl that the water will just pour down. Of course, in the denser mixes, it'll take longer for the water to go through, but it should not get stuck. So we're gonna try this mix right here that I just made for my alocasias and see. That's a great wet draining mix. You see, everything is just going right through it, and even that is full of like small material, like the rice husk and the fine pumice. You can see that the water table is not holding that much. If you don't know what the water table is, I talk about it in my other videos. And the best ways to get rid of any excess water in the water table is by just tilting the pot or the container to a 45-degree and let it that. If you want to see what I'm talking about, okay. Okay, so you see how there it stopped draining, like, basically. Now there's a water table. Like, let me talk about this right now, because like you can go and look for my other videos, but I don't even know what video it is. So there are things that are going to be repetitive in some videos, because it's safe for me to assume that this is the only video of mine that you're seeing, and why make you go look for the other ones? Although if you do, I appreciate it, and that'll be great. So let's say right there that this has, you think is safe, and there's no more water in this pot, like it has all drained completely out. Now, physics is funny, because there is a water table that this pot still has about this much water right in this spot, And you'd think, where is it? It's a mixture of capillary action and weakened system that happens that in a specific container or reservoir or pot, even with drainage holes in the bottom, that weaken happens at the, let's say, 15-20% of the pot. That water table is there. That water gets stuck there, and it takes a long time to dry it out. So that's another reason that you can go through some root rot. Depends where the root system is. Depends if you get rid of that water table or not. Look at this water table now. Get out. This being as drainage as it is, you see how much water was still there left, and just by tilting the pot to a 45 degree, it makes that water table break down, and that water table now is just right here. So now this pot is moist, but it's not waterlogged. Okay, so that's how we test the drainage on the soil mixes that we use. It doesn't matter what it is, it always should drain. When you see a concentration of, believe it or not, or sand, especially if it's not river sand. River sand tends to be a little thicker and grainier than beach sand. Don't use beach sand if you haven't washed it. Because beach sand has a lot of salt that are harmful for plants. So, but if you use river sand, it's good because the river does the job for you. It rinses off and it just leaves the small particles of sand that are grainy enough to let water run right through it. But if you try to get play sand from the store, or a lot worse, all-purpose sand, you're gonna see that the water gets completely locked in there. It will not drain. You can fill a pot like this with the all-purpose sand, and it will stick there. It will not drain whatsoever. And if you don't believe me, try it. You get more drainage from pure compost than all-purpose sand. Usually what I use as sand is decomposed granite, as you can see that also in my play mix. But here is a different mix. That mix, I already made a video for that. Please, if you want to see the details, go to the play mix. It's under Alocasia mix. So now that we have this ready and we have tested that the drainage is great, let's move to repot this. So what am I going to do to do this? Like I said, my cupria is working great in no drainage. I have it on a clear pot, and it's only on like chunky mix. Now we have two Ivory coasts here, so I'm gonna do one in no drainage and one with drainage, and see how that works out. I'm gonna use the same pot because for the no drainage I don't need to see through it, and I'm gonna put the one that has the smaller root system in here to be safe, and I'm gonna use the one with the larger root system so I can see it on a clear vessel, so I can see what's going on with the same type of mix. And as usual, if you want to skip this, go ahead, because this is the usual thing. I do the same thing with all my plants. I put a small vase for the plant at the bottom of the container, and then I add, this is the other organic, a little bit of earthworm castings. That's the fast food for the plant. Systemic, that's an extra defense system for the plant against bugs and whatnot. A bit of slow release fertilizer, so I'm not always using nutritious water to water my plants. And now this root system is not only small in comparison to the other one, because like look at the other one, it has bigger. But of course, this is basically one plant, and there are 5 plants here. All right, but still, I just made a fresh batch of my powder, which is a part of rooting hormone, 2 parts of sulfur powder, and 2 parts of cinnamon powder or sulfur dust, mycorrhizae, Just a pinch of mycorrhiza because there's no inoculation in this soil or in this mix. And then just finish the fill. Let's test this out. Like again, as I said, and like let me repeat this again because it's important. I'm not an expert in alocasias whatsoever. Alocasias and begonias are my weak spot. Till now, they keep crapping around. I think I started to get the handle on them. So the next one is going to be in no drainage. I have one vessel right here. Oh, and on top, and also because like this is a lot grainier mix, you will add the diatomaceous earth on top. With the subsequent waters, it will seep through. Because this is a very fine powder. It's like as fine as talc. If you put it any earlier, it will just go right through the bottom. In this case, through the drainage holes. Earworm castings, slow release, systemic, magic powder. Let's call it like that from now on. This is going to be the episode that I'm going to start referring to my powder as magic powder. Place the plant. We're just going to go a little bit of mycorrhiza. And this one also like fills right through and all through those air pockets a lot easier than the chunky mix, because the chunky mix with more bark and more cocoa husk, it makes those chunkier bits harder to get into those little spots, and sometimes that also makes the plants harder to stand upright because it doesn't have the support, if you know what I mean. It create empty pockets, and those are also not good because one thing is that the plant needs oxygen. Another thing completely different are air pockets. Those can produce rye rot, which is as harmful as root rot, which is basically a chunk of the root system not getting moisture or nutrition or nothing for that matter, and that part of the root will dry out. And depends where that root is, it can harm the plant quite significantly. Still do a little smacking. And again, with this, we're not going to be able to see the water level, and we not want to go over like 20% of the pot. Like if we keep it there, we know that the whole system will be moist, but not necessarily waterlogged. But we also have to be careful with that because this plant will eventually get the roots down there. And what happens? It can create root rot. But usually the plant knows. The plant knows that there is a water reservoir there. So the roots is going to send down there are going to be water roots. So don't get too concerned about that. Just be concerned about it at the beginning. When we put in these roots in, these are the roots that we don't want them to be touching where the water reservoir is. Once the plant is already set there, I have my DE, and there it is. This is the two versions of Ivory Coast that I have right now. I have a couple of corms that I'm going to put in my propagation box. And that's the episode for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know any questions, any comments, any critiques, any experiences of your own will be extremely helpful. Because again, I am still learning. I have lots to learn. What better way to do that with you and in this community that we can all learn together and how to keep these plants thriving and alive. So don't forget to drop a like and share with other plant enthusiasts. And more than anything, please subscribe, watch my videos, and I will talk to you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.